Hello again, this is Amy Major, back again to talk more about different things of spirit rescue mediumship, and even spirit releasement as well. I am a specialist in all three, and yes, they're all different, but today we're going to talk a little bit about what a manifested entity is. Because quite often when we talk a little bit in spirit rescue of different spirits and entities and interdimensionals and multidimensionals, ETs and parallel realms, like it gets kind of confusing for some people watching, kind of asking, well, what is all of this? And when we start talking about manifested, like what is that? What's manifested? So I wanted to kind of come on and just describe briefly what a manifested entity really is and what you can do about them. Sometimes you can't always just call in a medium and say, hey, get rid of this. Sometimes we want to take back our power, which is really important, and be able to clear some of these things out of our home, our spaces, even our body on our own. So I'm here to provide information to you so you can take back your power and have the information needed so that you can clear some of these things on your own without always having to feel like you have to go for help. Now, we have two forms of entities and consciousness, but the main one that we usually talk about is a spirit, which is a soul consciousness, or an entity, which has an entity consciousness streaming through it. We have ETs, we have interdimensional multidimensionals. These are all conscious beings. They have their own particular form of soul consciousness. They are aware of themselves, and they do have a history of their consciousness and ascension of their consciousness throughout time, or what we view as time. Manifested does not get birthed on through the breath of God like many forms of consciousness, but rather it gets created through us or through other entities. And yes, entities can create manifested entities. More on that later. So manifested means that it comes from something that has already been created. So it's a sub-creation of an original creation. Souls, such as ourselves, is a creation created through God. And we can then create other forms of energy from our own energy. It's kind of like birthing out our own form of energy from ourselves. And so what we're doing is we're having a huge amount of condensed emotions and thoughts that are so strong that they create a projection. It's almost like blowing out energy from your energy field. And that energy can then create something that's manifested when you're concentrating over a long period of time. As an example, you may have gone through a really hard childhood. Many of us have. And you're constantly feeding into the fear and the crisis and the hard emotions that you went through. And plus, there's a lot of hard memories that are there. Over time, if you don't fix the emotions or heal or grow or move on from that trauma, that energy can build up over time. And over time, it feels like it needs to just escape you because it just becomes so overwhelming. We then start projecting that energy out from away from us, outside our energy field. And that is now what we call an energy projection. It is now projected from us, birthed from our own energy. Now, over time, when you continually feed that projection with more projections, more energy, every time something new happens to you that feeds into that fear or that crisis or that trauma, that energy now projects into the already projected energy that you have. And it's like energy that's swarming around you, that's just energy projection. The more you feed into it, the more it grows. And this is what we call manifested. Manifested means it's just changed over time through whatever you're feeding it. And so when it manifests and grows and transforms over time, it becomes the mirror image of the energy you fed it with, such as fear, trauma, sadness, anxiety. All of that manifests like bricks. You're building blocks of energy that you're forming, and it becomes a manifested thought form. We call manifested entity. Even though it didn't exist before you, it now exists after you. And so this manifested entity can talk to you just like any other entity can. They can communicate with you. They can make it seem like they're really powerful and strong, which they are because they hold a lot of dense energy. But these manifested thought forms don't exist beyond you. Now, some of these manifested thought forms decide to move away from you and can move into other locations or even try to attach to other people with like-minded traumas, emotions, and like energy attracts like energy. So when a thought projection moves on to somebody else, you're going to feel as if it's an entity attacking you from nowhere. Like, oh my goodness, this is a demon trying to attack me, because it seems evil, even though it's not. This thought projection can come in many forms. A lot of people talk about shadow forms. Shadow forms are mostly manifested thought projections filled with a lot of dense, dark emotion. Now, these manifested thought forms in shadow form can't exist on their own because we project them, we birth them into existence. And when they break away from us, they're no longer feeding off of our dense energy anymore. So now what is it going to do to survive? It now has to feed off of other people. Otherwise, it will just eventually dissipate and cease to exist over time because it's not feeding. It's not. We have people we need to feed. We need to feed to have energy to exist here. Thought forms also need to feed to exist here in the physical world. So now they're going to start looking for other people. They're going to look for people that hold a vibrational match to the energy they need to feed off of. It's fear, anxiety, depression, grief. So whenever they find a person that holds that energy, they're now going to attach or latch onto their energy field, and they're going to start feeding so they can hold on to their existence. It seems like a demonic entity is attacking you, but it's really not. It's someone's energy projection. Now, other than shadow form, they can morph, they can change. We call them shapeshifters because they're now going to shape and shift into something that they feel will scare you even more. I used to have something that looked like huge black spiders crawling along my ceiling when I first got involved in spirit rescue. And I'm looking up going, oh my goodness. And they were thought projections, not mine, but actually entity thought projections, and they were crawling along my ceiling, and I would get up and I would flip on the light and they would go away. Now, if they were true entities, they would still be there. But because they were thought projections, the light dissipated their energy and they moved on because I was no longer afraid. Other forms could seem very humanoid. They could seem almost like a human because they were projected and created from a human, or they can morph into something a little bit more sinister that looks quite demonic as well. Thought forms can show up as sounds, as feelings, as poltergeist activity. A lot of these thought forms come in many different shapes and sizes, and it's like, so how can you tell if this is a manifested thought form or if it's a real entity? There's a few ways. First way is to figure out, is it feeding off of me? Because entities don't have to feed off of you. They can exist on their own without feeding off of your fears. So try to pay attention. How much is it trying to provoke a fear response from me? Because that fear response is going to feed it. It's going to make it it's going to allow it to continue to exist. So how much is it trying to trigger me and make me project more fear or more anxiety? That's the first thing. Second thing is when a medium or somebody tries to communicate to it, it has limited awareness of itself. It really doesn't know where it came from, who it is, why it is. All it knows is it just needs to feed. And it just knows about your energy because it's reading your energy. It's reading your history, your emotions, your childhood. It's reading everything about you to learn who you are and how it can create that fear response. So a lot of people say, but it knows so much about me. Of course it does. Energy is reading your energy. It's knowing everything about you so it can provoke you. So, but it doesn't know anything about itself. Where did it come from? Did it exist beyond this moment? Quite often they have limited awareness and limited memory. They really have no clue. Another way to be able to tell is that they don't have any awareness of God, existence, the universe. It is only aware of the surrounding environment that it's in at that moment. So it is very limited consciousness. Usually they don't come in any shape other than the shadow form or the humanoid form. They sometimes will try to present themselves as a human, but you won't see any facial features. You won't see any true definition with this energy. It will really be maybe an outline or even shadow of an energy because it contains limited consciousness. And when it does have that limited consciousness, it can't project or illuminate anything more than what was created by it. So it's not necessarily anything to be afraid of. And if anything, you don't want to be afraid because fear just feeds it. So how do you get rid of it? What do you think? If it feeds off of fear, what do you think will get rid of it? That's right, love. Love comes in many shapes and sizes too. Empathy, sympathy, compassion, joy, celebration, just sending love, sending color, sending light to this entity. It's not going to like it. Not at all, because this entity just wants to feed off negativity. And it doesn't truly have a sinister consciousness. It's just looking to survive. So I don't want you thinking it's evil because it's really not. I mean, the things that we do just to survive here in the human race can be considered evil. Whenever something is just trying to survive, it does whatever it can to survive. I want you to remember that. But you don't want it around. And you certainly don't want it to continue to feed off of you. And you don't want it to feed off of anybody else. As much as we don't want something to cease to exist, which it can't, because energy can't cease to exist, we want to create the resolution of that pain and suffering. So what do we want to do? Send it love. That love energy will then start to raise the vibrational frequency of that thought form, and it will start to eventually dissipate. It will break apart into tiny particles of energy. That energy will start to dissipate and radiate into an energy that will then transform into the mirror image of love. So now you're going to have this great ball of energy full of love. Use it. Send it to somebody else. You're like, oh, wait, I'm sending a manifest thought form to someone else. Now that you've transformed it into love, send it to God. Send it to you, to the universe. Send it to source. Send it where it is the most effective and can be used for the highest and best of whatever absorbs that energy. But never try to send a thought form to somebody else that's still in a dense vibration. That's not good karma. So I want you to know that having a thought form entity that really tries to scare you isn't anything to be afraid of. They're nothing of true power. The only power they ever hold is the power you give them. So don't give them any power. Don't give them any fear. Just send them love. Hopefully this has helped you understand a little bit more about thought projections, manifested entities. Reach out if you have any questions, put your comments below and tell me, have you ever come across a manifested thought form, which we call manifested entity? What was it like? What did it look like? How did it try to provoke you? Do you know how to handle it at the time? Reach out if you need any assistance, if you are experiencing any manifested entities and feel that you're really being provoked and really feeling very vulnerable. I'm here to help you at any time. So thank you.